You want to go to Europe, but not the Europe that empties your savings account in 3 days. Here's what nobody tells you. There are places in Europe as luxurious as Paris or Rome that cost about half of what you would expect. Here, just a few euros can pay for great meals, beautiful views, and unforgettable experiences. And Americans are already catching on. Retirees, remote workers, and smart travelers who figured out the loophole while everyone else keeps overpaying in the same crowded cities. Now, I'll be honest, there might be less English and some of these places might be quieter, but that is a small price to pay. So in this video, we are breaking down the 10 cheapest European places that feel expensive in 2026, which most people completely miss. Watch till the end, because number one is almost unfair. And if you like better travel ideas, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. 10. Porto, Portugal. Let's start with the one that sounds like it should be expensive. Colorful buildings stacked along the Douro River, historic trams rattling by, wine cellars older than most countries. And yet, you can live here for around 40 to 60 euros a day. Food is where Porto really messes with your expectations. A full sit-down meal with wine can cost less than lunch at an airport back home. Hotels and guest houses often look very luxurious without the heavy price tag. And the pace, slower, friendlier and less chaotic than Lisbon, but still full of life. Summers can get busy, and yes, some hills will humble your legs real quick. But that's part of the deal. Porto feels authentic, lived in, and not designed solely for tourists. That's why it still feels like a secret, at least compared to Paris or Barcelona. If you thought Portugal was only affordable on paper, Porto is your proof it's real. And if this one already surprised you, trust me, the next country is where things start getting really interesting. Drop a comment if Porto was already on your list, because number 9 might totally change your mind. 9. Warsaw, Poland. Warsaw quietly delivers value in a way that sneaks up on you. You come expecting cheap Eastern Europe and end up with a modern capital that feels efficient, stylish, and surprisingly comfortable, all while staying around 35 to 55 euros a day. Warsaw is a city of contrast. One minute you're walking past glass skyscrapers and the next, you're wandering a beautifully rebuilt old town that looks like it's survived centuries, even though it was rebuilt brick by brick after World War II. That story alone gives the city a depth you don't expect. Costs stay low in ways that matter. Public transportation is clean, safe, and cheap. Groceries won't make your wallet suffer. And eating out, you can get hearty Polish comfort food for prices that feel frozen in time. Warsaw also doesn't feel touristy in the annoying way. You're surrounded by locals living real lives, not souvenir shops every 10 steps. English is widely spoken, especially among younger people. Downsides: winters are no joke, but that's why it stays affordable and why summer feels like a reward. Warsaw is proof that value doesn't always come with flash. And if you think this balance of modern life and low costs is impressive, wait until you hear about number 8. 8. Vilnius, Lithuania. Vilnius is one of those cities that makes you wonder why more people haven't caught on. It's charming without trying and shockingly affordable for how polished it feels. Living here for 35 to 55 euros a day feels almost unfair once you see what you're getting. The old town is massive, one of the largest in Europe, filled with Baroque churches, winding streets, and cozy cafes that invite you to slow down. Vilnius also surprises with its green spaces. Parks, walking trails, and the riverside make it easy to escape the city buzz without leaving town. Local markets are vibrant and affordable, letting you pick up fresh produce, snacks, or souvenirs without stressing your budget. Food is simple, hearty, and affordable. You won't find overpriced tourist menus everywhere. Instead, you get local spots where people actually eat, with prices that make you double-check the bill. Apartments and hotels are modern, clean, and often way nicer than you expect at this budget. Is it loud? No. Is it wild nightlife every night? Also no. This is more of a walk, think, enjoy life kind of place, and that's exactly why many people fall for it. You're not going to want to miss the rest of this list, because number 7 takes us somewhere even closer to Western Europe, with prices that don't match the location at all. And before we move on, real quick, if this kind of smart travel content is your thing, hit subscribe now. 7. Bratislava, Slovakia. Bratislava is easy to underestimate, and honestly, that's kind of its thing. People treat it like a day trip, a quick stop, a checkbox between Vienna and Budapest. And that's the mistake, Because if you actually stay, you realize this place quietly delivers one of the best value lifestyles in Europe. Living here for roughly 35 to 50 euros a day feels very doable without cutting corners. The city is compact and practical. You can walk most places, which immediately keeps costs down. The old town is small but pleasant, with quiet streets, simple cafes, and a castle overlooking the Danube that gives you a great view without charging you tourist landmark prices. It feels lived in, not staged, and that makes a difference. Food is straightforward and filling, and prices reflect that. Public transportation works, groceries are affordable, and everyday life here feels manageable rather than rushed. Bratislava also benefits from its location. Vienna is close enough for a day trip, but daily costs are dramatically lower. English is common enough to get by, but the city still feels distinctly local. The trade-off: nightlife is quiet and the city is smaller, so you're not getting endless attractions. But that's exactly why it stays affordable and peaceful. Bratislava is for people who value quality of life over hype. And if that idea resonates with you, just wait, because number 6 might totally change your plans. 6. Sofia, Bulgaria. Sofia is where Europe feels shockingly affordable. 30 to 50 euros a day gets you a capital city at the base of mountains, packed with history, culture, and surprisingly modern conveniences, all mixed with cafes and markets where you can eat like a king without emptying your wallet. The city is also a nature lover's dream. Hike a mountain trail, breathe fresh air, and be back in the city in under an hour. The contrast between urban life and outdoor adventure is almost unbelievable for the price. Food is mostly cheap, and local markets make grabbing snacks or ingredients for a picnic fun and affordable. Sofia feels real, not staged for tourists. Streets hum with locals, students, and workers going about their day, giving the city a lively, authentic energy. English is common enough to navigate comfortably, but not everybody speaks it. Some buildings show their age, and infrastructure isn't perfect, but those small quirks are part of the city's character. And the trade-off is a lifestyle that's great in experience but tiny on cost. Sofia is a great mix of culture, adventure, and affordability, making it one of Europe's best-kept secrets. And if this surprises you, wait until you see number 5 next. 5. Krakow, Poland. Krakow doesn't feel cheap, and that's what makes it interesting. It feels old, established, and quietly confident, like a city that knows exactly what it is and doesn't need to modernize itself for attention. Living here on roughly 30 to 50 euros a day feels realistic, not extreme budget travel, which is why so many people end up staying longer than planned. The historic center is compact and walkable, built around one of the largest medieval squares in Europe. Churches, stone buildings, and narrow streets create an atmosphere that feels preserved rather than recreated. You can eat out regularly without tracking every expense, and groceries are affordable enough that cooking at home actually makes sense. Cafes are comfortable places to sit for a while, not rushed or overpriced. Krakow also feels young despite its age. A large student population keeps prices reasonable and adds energy without turning the city chaotic. Cultural events, museums, and concerts are accessible without feeling exclusive or expensive. The trade-off is popularity. Krakow isn't a secret, especially in summer, but even with visitors, it still feels grounded and livable. It's a city where daily life comes first, tourism second, and that balance is exactly why it works. And if this level of history and comfort already feels like good value, the next place lowers costs even more while shifting the atmosphere entirely. 4. Tirana, Albania. Tirana doesn't try to sell itself as polished Europe, and that honesty works in its favor. Around 30 to 50 euros a day gets you a mix of city life and coastline that would be far more expensive almost anywhere else on the Mediterranean. Tirana itself is lively, informal, and constantly changing, while the Riviera nearby offers calm, simple beach towns without luxury pricing. Tirana feels practical. Cafes are everywhere, meals are affordable, and daily expenses stay low without sacrificing comfort. The city has personality. Colorful buildings, open plazas, and a social culture built around sitting, talking, and not rushing make it easy to settle into a slower rhythm. Along the coast, the value becomes more obvious. Clear water, simple seafood restaurants, and small guesthouses give you the essentials without upselling an experience. Transportation is basic but cheap. People are welcoming, curious, and generally happy to help. English is common enough to get by, especially with younger locals. Albania still feels like a place that belongs to itself, not one shaped around tourists. It's not perfect. Infrastructure can be inconsistent, and planning takes patience. But the payoff is a lifestyle that feels relaxed, coastal, and affordable without trying to be trendy. And if this feels like Europe before it got expensive, the next country delivers value in a completely different, more urban way. 3. Riga, Latvia. Riga feels more refined than its prices suggest. At roughly 30 to 45 euros a day, you're in a capital city with strong infrastructure, elegant architecture, and a pace of life that feels balanced rather than rushed. It doesn't rely on charm alone, it functions well, which quietly adds to its appeal. The city is known for its Art Nouveau buildings, and they're not just a highlight, they shape the entire atmosphere. Streets feel orderly and designed, not chaotic. The old town is compact and easy to navigate, making it possible to explore without spending much at all. Daily costs stay reasonable across the board. Grocery stores are affordable. Eating out doesn't feel like a financial decision every time. Cafes and bakeries are common meeting places rather than tourist traps. Parks, riverside paths, and nearby beaches make it easy to reset without additional costs. It's a city that supports everyday life, not just sightseeing. The biggest adjustment is the climate. Winters are long and dark, which isn't for everyone. But that's also why prices remain reasonable and crowds stay away. If Riga feels like a smart, understated choice, the next city keeps costs just as low, but adds a completely different kind of energy. 2. Belgrade, Serbia. Belgrade is not a postcard city, and it doesn't pretend to be one. That's part of why it stays affordable. On roughly 30 to 45 euros a day, you're not budget traveling. You're just living normally in a capital that prioritizes people over presentation. The city runs on social life. Coffee isn't something you grab and go, it's something you sit with. Cafes are everywhere and nobody rushes you out. Eating out is casual, frequent, and affordable. Portions are generous, prices are grounded, and meals feel like part of daily routine, not a splurge. Belgrade's layout is messy but functional. Neighborhoods blend into each other and life happens in public spaces. You don't need constant attractions here. The city itself keeps you occupied. History is layered and visible, not polished into museums. You feel it in the architecture, the streets, the conversations. Locals are direct, sometimes blunt, but welcoming once you engage. English is widely spoken, which makes settling in easy without removing the city's identity. It's not calm, and it's not orderly. Traffic can be frustrating, and infrastructure isn't perfect. But the trade-off is energy and affordability combined in a way few European capitals manage. And if Belgrade feels like strong value already, the number one city goes even further. 1. Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sarajevo doesn't feel like a typical European capital, and that's what makes it stand out. At around 30 to 45 euros a day, life here feels calm, grounded, and surprisingly rich in experience. The city sits in a valley surrounded by mountains, which shapes both its pace and personality. Walking through the old town, cultures blend naturally. Ottoman-era streets, Austro-Hungarian buildings, local cafes filled with conversation. Daily life happens in the open. Food is simple and affordable, built around sharing and slowing down. Coffee is a ritual, not a habit. Costs stay low without sacrificing quality or comfort. Sarajevo carries heavy history, but it's not overwhelming. It gives the city depth, not darkness. Museums, neighborhoods, and everyday conversations remind you that this place has endured and adapted. Infrastructure isn't perfect and winters can be long, but in return, you get authenticity, affordability, and a sense of perspective that's hard to find elsewhere. Sarajevo earns the top spot not because it's flashy, but because it feels honest. And once you experience that, expensive travel starts to feel unnecessary.